Hello and welcome to RwandaTV News. I am Isabel Masozera. Now this is what we have coming up for you. Those who promote principles of self-esteem and integrity for Africans note that one of the primary causes of people leaving the continent is climate change and other challenges that are associated with it. And parliamentarians have gotten a verbal explanation from the Minister of Infrastructure on the matter of inadequate infrastructure in 11 districts of the country. Hello and welcome to RwandaTV News, wherever you're watching from here in Rwanda and around the world. Now, top of our edition on Tuesday, President Paul Kagame received Wamleke Meli, who is the General Secretary of the African Continental Free Trade Area, for a briefing on the implementation of the trade agreement. The historic agreement fostering a common market in Africa was signed in Kigali in March 2018. When President Kagame was at the helm of the African Union. Now, during his visit to Rwanda, the Secretary General of the African Continental Free Trade Area visited various places in Masaka and at the Volkswagen factory that assembles cars in Rwanda, where he acknowledged that Rwanda is well prepared to enter the market. You're still watching RwandaTV News now. Earlier today at Urugwiro village, President Paul Kagame met with General Muhoozi and his delegation as they concluded their visit. And that was a private one that included joining President Kagame and the First Lady Jeannette Kagame to participate in the bi-monthly car-free day activities earlier this week. Now, moving on, parliamentarians have gotten a verbal explanation from the Minister of Infrastructure on the matter of inadequate infrastructure in 11 districts in the country. Nuriath Agasaro filed this report.
The parliamentarians posed many questions to the Minister of Infrastructure, focusing on damaged and unrepaired roads and bridge, electricity and water problems that have not reached everyone, and issues of residents who have not gotten reparation for property damage caused by infrastructure distribution. The General Assembly raised war about the nature of those challenges, asking the Minister of Infrastructure, Dr. Nsabimana, if it is not possible to make part of what the government has promised the people before 2024 not to be accomplished.
Some districts continue to have the lowest percentage of water infrastructure distribution to the residents, raising concerns if the goal of providing clean water to all citizens by 2024, as detailed in the 7-year plan of the government, will be achieved in the remaining time.
After discussing why some infrastructures projects are being delayed, such as insufficient funds, climate change, housing that does not conform to plan, and the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Minister of Infrastructure says that the government has taken steps to ensure that what he agreed to the people will be achieved. On the issue of residents who have not received compensation for their properties damaged due to the water infrastructure works, Dr. Nsabimana Ernest says that there are 12,457 people who have not been paid, and those who have not received compensation for their works damaged by electricity are 14,537 who have been charged more than 5 billion Rwandan francs. The Minister of Infrastructure has stated that they will be paid no later than the second quarter of the fiscal year 2022 to 2023, and that the mistake of forcibly removing residents from their properties without financial support will not be repeated.
The money is also available, and some files have started to reach Minecofin.
In Kigali, the problem of insufficient infrastructure is still visible.
It's been 12 years of water problems in Kigali.
Some residents of the Nduba sector in the Gasabo district says that this problem affects them economically and socially, particularly when they need to receive or give services in public places.
When it does not rain, Many people gather at the tap, and the staff at the school and those in charge of cooking and feeding the children are unable to provide them with food on time, since they are the ones making meals, and they ask them to go and fetch water. We now have 4 classrooms, and we have started construction work. And when it is time to use electricity, the voltage is low, causing computers and other electronics to malfunction.
He took our money and then he told us to wait. So how long will we have to wait? We wish we could get water, and it would be much great if it could reach us. Districts that have experienced more water distribution problem than others. Burera reached 43%, Nyaruguru 56%, Nyagatare 60.2%, Ruhango 61%, Karongi 61.8%, Nyabihu 63.1%, Rutsiro 69.5%. And the districts that have experienced more problems with electricity distribution than others are Burera is on 43%, Nyamasheke 44%, Gakenke 44.1%, Ngororero 48%, Gicumbi 52%, Karongi 52.8%, Nyabihu 56%. The facts provided by Minister of Infrastructure Dr. Nsabimana Ernest impressed the General Assembly in the Chamber of Deputies. Nuriat Agasaro, RTV News.
And we do apologize for that small technical glitch earlier. Moving on, those who promote the principles of self-esteem and integrity for Africans note that one of the primary causes of people leaving the continent is climate change and other challenges that are associated. Adam Squizela explains.
The participants of the 7th Pan-African Forum on Migration contend that the solutions to the migration issue lies on striving for Africans' value, unity and self-esteem. This meeting is taking place in Kigali from 18th to 20th October 2022. The forum that organized it's a part of the organization that strives for the pride and esteem of Africans, Pan-African movement.
Climate change is emerging as one of the key drivers of migration in Africa. We continue to witness harsh climate conditions, including increase in temperatures, drought, and floods in many parts of the continent that has led to destruction of properties and displacement of persons. We need to identify critical areas that can form a foundation for our national, regional, and continental interventions on climate-induced migration.
We believe that the migrants and the migrating community are strategies that are based on research that are supporting them to also to be able to prevent these natural disasters.
This forum is dedicated to study the problems of the African immigrants. This turn, Rwanda was given to chair this forum as the Director General of Africa in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation. Umutoni Shakila points out on what they will focus while chairing this forum.
We come together, we share experiences. If something has worked well in Rwanda, how can we share with other countries on the continent so that we work together and come up with the strategies at the continental level to be able to address the challenges together.
The African Union states that if no action is taken, by 2050, approximately 2.5 million people will be displaced by natural catastrophes and other 500,000 will be displaced by war on the continent. Adam Squizera, RTV News.
Thank you, Adams. Indeed, the time to take action is now. Now, 1,200 investors and entities from 69 countries across the world in solar energy production and distribution are in Rwanda to discuss solutions that will help people with no electricity have access to it. Prince Manzi with more.
Jean-Baptiste Nizeyimana is among the 74% of Rwandans that have access to electricity, while Rwandese Alex is among 26% with no access to electricity in Rwanda. Here are their comments on the accessibility of electricity in Rwanda. But as soon as we accessed the electricity, it eased transport, we manufactured those, and clients received them on time. I can say now people are happy because of how fast they access their products. I use candles, and to charge my phone, I come here at the market.
Today,
At least 1,200 investors from 69 countries across the world are in Rwanda for the Global Off-Grid Solar Forum that aims at generating solutions on how the 800 millions of citizens with no access to electricity can access the solar energy. The Minister of Infrastructure, Dr. Ernest Nsabimana, stated that this is a great opportunity for Rwanda to acquire such investors that will support the government in achieving its objective of at least every house to access electricity by 2024. As you saw, some are saying that in 2 months they will open branches in Kigali and collaborate with others to see the equipments in Rwanda if they have good quality and standard. So we are discussing with them in order to make sure that even if we introduce these technologies, they must be problem-solving technologies, not causing problems. The executive director of the Global Association for the Off-Grid Solar Energy Industry, GOGLA, Cohen Peters, states that this association chose Rwanda as the host of this forum because of its remarkable step in distributing electricity to its population.
First of all, of course, we wanted to have a country that is welcoming for a large group of international companies, and Rwanda has excellent facilities to do the kind of business that we are looking for. But Rwanda is also really a leading nation at the moment in public-private partnerships in promoting the off-grid solar market, and we're really pleased with how the Rwanda government has set up its program. It's a long learning process, but where we are today, there's a good dialogue between the government and private sector. There's good support that we get from the government, and we see that translated into very good results in terms of numbers of connections.
The Energy and Extractives Global Practice Manager at the World Bank, Samir Shukla, states that it requires at least $23.3 billion for the world to achieve its goal of the population's free access to the electricity. Therefore, strong collaboration with its partners is important.
So in the next 8 years to 2030, our strategy is to try and leverage as much resources as we can, both from the private sector as well as from the public sector and from other non-traditional sources like carbon finance, climate funding, and to be able to provide all of this together in a homogeneous, consolidated manner, in all operating in the same direction towards the same objectives.
At least 800 millions of people across the world do not have access to electricity, and 500 millions of people among them are from Africa. The World Bank states that in the $23.3 billion needed to achieve the world's objective by 2030, with the collaboration with its partners, $8 billion were collected. Prince Manzi, RTV News.
Thank you, Prince. Members of the Kenyan Directorate of Children's Services are in Rwanda on a 4-day visit to learn from Rwanda's national child care strategy with the intention of implementing a similar one back home. Olive Ntete now reports.
It's been 10 years since Rwanda started implementing the strategy of reintegrating children from orphanages to families. Due to the progress made so far in the implementation of the National Strategy for Child Care Reform, it has presented opportunities to share experiences with countries in the region. The Kenyan government, through the Directorate of Children's Services, is on a 4-day visit to Rwanda to learn from skills, knowledge and experiences of Rwanda to reinforce children care reforms in their country, as Abdinur Sheikh Mohammed, the CEO of National Council for Children in Kenya, explains.
Expectations and our ambition, our vision, and our foresight and what we desire in this strategy is a change where as many children as possible are taken back to family and home settings and community settings by the year 2032. And we expect also our visit to Rwanda now will give us a lot of insight from the practical perspectives and the journey which they have taken. And this will guide some of the steps we will be taking in ensuring that we are successful.
Innocent Habifura, the country director of Hope and Homes for Children, one of the organizations that has been working with the government of Rwanda to implement the National Strategy for Child Care Reform, notes that the program has been beneficial to children, both in their mental development as well as their social development. Judy Ndugu, the Director of Children's Services, also emphasizes that raising children in institutions hinders their mental development.
Over 91% of children are living in families. Actually, I'm using children, but some have become adult and functioning adult who have started founding their families, starting their businesses, getting employment, and it will be difficult for anyone to distinguish the same people because they have overcome the negative effect of institutionalization through the cure that I always mention. A family has its own magic. It has the way it cures whoever come in its warmth. So many of those children now are good citizens of Rwanda, and it's something we need to celebrate.
Studies have shown that when children are raised in institutions, their development is hampered. You'll find that their mental development is not very good. Then, of course, the emotional attachments. They lack emotional attachment because much as the institution may try, we only have a very low ratio of carer to children. So that impacts on the emotional attachment. And if you are going to develop people who are not emotionally well developed, then as a country, it's very risky because they'll do things and they'll not feel anything. So that, to me, should be good enough reason to move away from overly depending on that kind of care.
According to the National Child Development Agency, children who have been reintegrated in families are taken care of and followed upon to ensure their well-being. Currently in Kenya, there are approximately 800 institutions that take care of abandoned children and orphans, where more than 45,000 children live in these institutions. Currently in Rwanda, over 91% of children have recovered the right to live in the family. Olive Nete, RTV News.
Administrators of educational institutions in Kayonza district have expressed that things need to be paid attention to maintain the smooth running of the ongoing academic year. Now, during a meeting on education convening school administrators and facilitators that took place in Kayonza district, discussions were held with the state minister in charge of ICT education and training to address various things that ought to be improved by both parties.
Ku rwego rw'amashuri twebwe tugomba kwita ku kumenya abana no ko bize.
Our role is to monitor the quality of education the students are receiving and also ensure that their needs are being met. We also follow up on the completion of courses on the teachers' end. We would like the government to urge parents to participate in the education of their children. Parents, schools, and the society have played a role in school dropouts, especially in this day and age when certain parents aren't taking care of their children. A teacher that is only going to interact with students for an hour a day is not going to be concerned about them. And that is something educational institutions should make a point to improve. School administrators are responsible for the physical condition of school infrastructure, which is sometimes damaged by students, and that depreciates the value of the school as time passes. It would be beneficial for local authorities to urge parents to participate more in the well-being and education of their children.
State Minister in charge of ICT and vocational education stands by the view that maintaining a conducive learning environment can only lead to success when parents collaborate with school administrations.
No one person can be held responsible for this because it concerns the Rwandan society as a whole. When you see a student that's supposed to be in school but isn't, they should be made aware that it's not right, and the same regard should be applied to parents that aren't sending their children to school. When school administrations are stable, their attendees follow suit. It is necessary for all students to be fed at school.
Thanks for staying with us on RTV News. I am Isabel Masozera. Now, on behalf of the entire newsroom, we hope you take care of yourself. See you soon.